Hello everyone, in today's lab I'm going to cover how to texture this. This is the fun part, right? We actually get to sort of play around with our artwork, we get to make it however we like, fun stuff like that. So with that being said, as long as you're happy with your UVs, I'm going to just shift this last one over really quickly. I just noticed it. It's pretty good, but give me a little bit more space on each. Oop. Oop. Trying to grab it from the arrow and it keeps. I'm just going to give it a little bit more space on each side so it's a little bit more centered in here. But I haven't changed any of the scale or anything. I was just moving it around. Ultimately, these bolts could probably be much larger on my UV map, but this is how I'm going to leave it like how it is, because this is how anyone would want you to, or at least at the start, have it looking like. Because they're separate objects, I could include much higher resolution images on these to make it look better if I scaled just these larger, but I want to keep everything uniformly just for the sake of practice. But because they're totally separate objects, me personally, I don't see any reason why I couldn't switch it to something, but I'm going to leave it exactly how I have it. And I'm going to first, since I left it out in the last video, we need to take a UV snapshot of this. So Tools, Move UV Shell Tool, and select, click, and drag. And then I'm going to go Image and UV Snapshot. I have it set to 2048 by 2048. I'm going to locate the folder I want to put this in. Let's do by date modified or name. That's funny because it groups the 1 and the 0. Either way, I don't really care. I'm putting it in this one, and it's going to be called Shield UVs. Perfect. And save. I know I don't have to add the extension anymore because it does it for me. I'm going to make it a JPEG. And I'm going to go ahead and hit apply and close. Now in Photoshop, I'm going to open that same Shield UVs, if I can find it. There we go. And now I wanted to just save the time in the video. I just opened up some textures. I'll include the links where I got these from. But feel free to texture this however you like. You can texture it, literally use your imagination. You can texture it however you like. If you want to follow along with me, that's fine. I have my older videos below this in the Canvas module shell for this lab, and that's where you'll see a lot of these textures. But a couple of them I just downloaded, and I thought they might look cool. Not really sure. These are going to be for my bolts. I mean, that's pretty obvious. This will be for my centerpiece of the coat of arms, fine gold. I don't know if I'll even use this. I'm going to play around and see what happens. But I'm going to leave my Shield UVs open. I'm actually going to duplicate the layer right off the bat. I can delete this original, but I'll keep it there for now. And now what I want to do is I want to start and get this all sort of textured. So, really simply put, like I said, you can be very creative, but I want each one of these shells to have somewhat different sort of texture applied to it, so it's not just one massive picture image over the entire thing and the whole thing's wow magically textured when you realize it's just one image. So I mean, ultimately it's going to be one image, but you'll see what I mean. So I don't want you to just take like an image like this and then plop it over and submit it like that. That won't be acceptable. These each should have their own separate little image planes. So anyway, now there's a number of different ways I can go about doing this. I can use so many different tools. So what would be the fastest and easiest way to go about this? I'm going to start with the bolts and think about how I'll approach the rest of these. So I will go to the bolts JPEG and we're simply going to grab this elliptical tool. I am going to just run click and drags, oops, over these. I'm going to hold shift to make it circular, and pretty much just like so. If you want to make sure it's like exactly over it, it's kind of hard with the elliptical tool, not gonna lie. It can be very tedious. Now there is one way you could do it, kind of. If you create a new layer, you hover over it, you get it as close as you can, and something like that. What I like to do is I actually like to fill my little paint bucket tool here. I'm going to switch it to black. That's just going to be a little bit easier. And now what I can do is I can sort of get this exactly where I want. I'd say that's good. And now with that same circle, you know, that's selection tool, I'm going to select on my other layer. If you want to duplicate this one just to be safe, you can. I'm going to, and let's click and drag and bring down to the create new layer. Anyway, press Control C, go over to my shield UVs and Control V. Now I'm just going to go ahead and I press Control T to free transform. Bring down your opacity and then just scale it to fit. Doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, you want it to go outside of those white UV lines a little bit. I'd say that's probably pretty good. Bolt 1. Now I could, if I wanted to get really crazy, I could select a different bolt for each one, and I can do that simply by going back to my first layer, and let's say I want this one, right? And then, oh, I pressed Control C, I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to select on this layer with that same selection tool, Control C, go back to my shield UVs, and scale this one into place. And if you need to, bring down the opacity. I'm going to say that's good. Bring back up the opacity. You could also literally just copy and paste, or use this same exact one. Just click and drag down to new layer and drag it over each one. But just for fun, go back to this one. I know this is a little bit intricate. I just feel like it's kind of unique to have each one be different or not identical to the other. And I'm going to do this a couple times. So that's pretty good. Bolt 3. Bring back my opacity up. And then go back over here. This one looks kind of neat. It's got a little swirly on it. We'll go with that one. Control C. Control V. Bring down the opacity. And I'm going to do this a number of different times. In the meantime, I'm actually kind of double checking and thinking how it might be easiest to approach the other ones. Because there's so many different ways I could. So I could, on these other shapes here, I could sort of color them in, and then use some kind of overlaying method, a clipping mask of some sort, and then this way I could easily always change them. That's the route I think I'm going to go with. I think it'll be fun for you to do a little bit. And I mean, feel free at the end of the day, if you know Photoshop, you can play around with it. But I'll give you a couple ways to go about doing it. So I'm on to the next bolt. Oh, and you see what I did there? That's why I create duplicate copies, because I accidentally just clicked and dragged that off. There we go. So now I'm back on here. I will select this one. Click on this layer, Control C, Shield UVs, Control C, Control V, Control T. And it's very repetitive, but it's fun. And there we go. We're going to bring back bolt 5. And I'm going to go all the way around. How many more do I have to do? How many have I done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left. Okay. I'm going to just finish it off the way I was doing it. I know it's going to take a little longer, but I'll feel good about it at the end of the day. This one looks a little interesting. Some nicks and cracks in it. No one's ever going to see this unless you did a very close zoom in on it. But so something like that. Bolt 6. Oh, I did it again. I'm going to just literally show you every single step that I do to make this happen. So this way, as I work, you might notice a tool or 3 or a technique or 3 that I do differently than you, or something that you say, hey, that's actually makes things a little bit easier. I could, like I said, duplicate these original ones. No one's really ever going to notice, but you can literally tell each one is going to be slightly different than the other, which I think is kind of neat. This one down here looks a little weird, so let's select that one. Control C, Control V. And I'm going to keep going around in that circle. Bring down my opacity a little bit. Scale it to size. So that's pretty good. Bring back the opacity up. Which one else looks kind of cool? This one looks different. Let's select that one. And in the professional world, they would have, you know, depending on what the project was, you'd probably, but typically you're like AAA games, they're not going to have anything be exactly the same. They're all going to be bolts 8. This will be bolt 9. And we're going to bring that opacity back up. We'll go to the next one. 1, 2. I've got 2 more to do. That wasn't so bad. Which one else looks cool? This one looks kind of different. If I selected one that was the same, I didn't notice, so but I'm not too concerned about it. I am trying to make them all a little bit different though. Okay, that might be a little too big. Bring it down. I can save some of that res. Bada bing. This will be bolt 10. And the next one, bolt 11. I don't think I selected this one. This one looks kind of cool. Control C, Control V. Bring down my opacity a little bit. Bring this into shape. And there we go. And now we bring this all the way back up. Oh, and I gotta bring this one all the way back up. So what's cool about that is now that I have all of those separate, you'll see that you can actually start to see how this texture is going to look, which is pretty neat. Now, just for fun, I want to save this out. I'm going to save it out anyway because I just did quite a bit. I'm in Lab 11, Shield, Diffuse, and I'm going to save out my Photoshop file. And then I'm also going to file export out a JPEG. Export as JPEG, export. Go to the correct folder. Save. I hope I saved the Photoshop file in the right folder. Anyway, let's open up our, where is it? Maya file. And now I've got this shield. However, I want to add a texture to it now so I can start to see my progress. I feel like it's a little rewarding to be able to see that. So I'm going to turn these off. I'm going to hold right click. I'm going to assign a new material. I'm going to use my Arnold shader and go to my AI standard surface. I'm going to go right click all the way AI standard surface. This is going to be my shield diffuse or shield Arnold material, and I'm going to go under color, click the little checker box, go to file, click the folder, go to the file location. It's going to be under Shield Diffuse. Sorry, I couldn't see it. Click open, tap 6 on my keyboard, and now you can actually see all the outlines right on there. That's because it looks black with the white lines because that's literally what my texture is, right? That's exactly where the UVs are. It's exactly what it's supposed to be looking at. But back in Maya, I want to take a look, and now you can actually see that my bolts are actually textured, which is pretty neat. Oh, and it looks like I snapped my UVs when it was in smooth mode, because when I tap 3, you'll see that it actually lines up perfectly again on those lines. So tapping 1, I was in 1 mode. Tapping 3, you'll see that when I snap my UVs, it was in 3 mode. That's just kind of funny. Anyway, so you can see what that looks like. You can see what each one of your bolts looks like, which is pretty crafty, I think. It's pretty cool. Now, with that being said, I'm going to do an edit, delete all by type history again. I'm sure I've had something in somewhere in this file just to keep it as clean as possible while I'm working. Now I'm going to work on texturing the rest of it. Let's start on the front side. I'm not too concerned about the back because I'm not really going to see it much. But I am going to see the front of it for our midterm, and I'm going to go to Photoshop. And now I have to decide how I'm going to go about doing this. I'm going to click the first bolt 11 and shift select bolt 1 and click this little folder down here in the bottom right corner that says create a new group when you hover over it. And I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to call this bolts. So now I've got all of my bolts here in this group, which is pretty cool. Keeping my, and this is going to be UV matte. I want to show you something cool for the moment. I'm going to click and drag this over. So you know how I was changing the opacity of my bolts each time I brought it in. Had I done it this way, I'm going to click and drag this over and go to, it should be screen as long as I didn't play with anything. I'm trying to move around and pan like I'm using Maya. Now you can actually still see the texture. This is pretty tight because this is a very small UV with lots of edges, but you can actually see the texture through it, which is kind of cool. What I like to do typically is bring it down just a little bit. Let's call it 25. So now I can actually see my UVs a little bit over it, and at the end what I'll do is just turn it off. But or I can toggle it on and off as needed. So I think that's a pretty cool little thing. Now another thing I like to do, there's so many different ways I can do this. I feel like it might be really useful to create my own little map over these things. A couple ways I could do it. The brush tool would work. Create a new layer, and we could do this for each one, and then it'll be really simple. I'll make my brush 15. That works. I'm also going to create the hardness up to 100% so I don't have any soft edges on it, and I'm going to change the color to white for now. And I'm going to start on this very, very bottom one, and each one of these is going to be on its own layer. So maybe 15 is too big. Let's go 10. And I'm going to just start, and let's make it a different color actually. We'll make this one red. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just simply start to, I'm holding shift so I can just sort of click around my object. You can click from each edge loop that you see me doing, each one of these lines here. Just going to click around this object at each one of those lines, more or less, making sure I cover the entire line. You can go right on it with a large enough brush. This is pretty straight here. Now I want to show you what I'm going to do here. Once I finish this, I'm like, yay, I'm 50%. Let's jump to the next part preemptively. So once I have this part done. Now the reason I chose 100% on hardness is so it doesn't have that soft edge on it, and it should, in theory, make this paint bucket tool fill much easier, which it didn't. It was just in theory. So if you click it once and click it twice, it should automatically do it. That's what I wanted my hardness to look like when I was doing this. Okay, I'm okay with it. So I did that. So this is going to be, I don't know what part it is, but we're going to call it bottom edge red. And I'm going to make each one of these different color. Now I want to, before I start doing every single one of these individually, I would like to go ahead and show you the reason behind that. So I can now, let's see, I don't even know what part of the shield this is, so let's find out. So that's the inside of it, okay. Now, it depends on what route I'm going, but what I'm going to do is open up Photoshop. I know it's that ring right there. As an example, I'm going to hold Control. This would work. This kind of is neater. You'll be able to see it, I think. It doesn't matter. So Control C, I have this whole thing, Control A, Control C. Now I'll go over to my Shield Diffuse file, hold Control V. It covers the entire thing, right? But red wood. If I right click on this layer and I go down to create clipping mask, you'll notice it now only covers that one section, right? And if I wanted to, I can rotate this so the wood grain actually kind of goes with it in a better direction. And I really think it's such a useful way to do it, personally. And now if you ever wanted to change it, you can so easily change this. So easily. So anyway, getting ahead of myself. Let's save this out just so we can see what we've accomplished. Click save. It's always good to save often. And then file export. Yes, I wanted to replace it because I'm just going to jump into my Maya file. Select my object. Click this little black arrow over here. When you hover over it, it says label color. Click it, and then I'm just going to click reload because I haven't changed the file as far as I know. There it goes. And now you can see I've got that wood on the inside of it, right? All the way wrapped around, which I think is pretty neat. And it comes right here, and that's where my crease is. So it kind of looks, it's a little bit harder to see in areas like that, but also from a distance you'd never be able to tell. I'm going to stick with that wood theme. I think it's kind of neat. We'll make this inner piece a wooden part right in here. Okay, so the next thing I will do is go to, let's see which side this one is in my UV. So on this one here, I'm also going to make wood. Okay, fair enough. We'll jump back into Photoshop. I think it was the inside one. I have to do it anyway. So what I can do is now create a new layer. This will be like inner bevel. Inner, actually I want to make it inner extruded shield, whatever. All right, and then I'm also going to label the name on it so it's red. I'm going to make this one red too because these are all going to be the same texture. I don't like how I did that one. Zoom in a little bit. I want it to be a little bit closer. On the rounder parts, I try to stay a little bit jumped from edge to edge a little bit more often just to give it that cleaner curve. When I start to get to, now I'm just doing it out of force of habit, but when I get to something like there, I'll jump a couple. Either way, it's fine. And then I'll do the same thing for the interior. Now, I don't have to do the interior, but I just want to know for visual reference what it is when I am texturing. I might mistake it for like one of the big sections of the shield, so I don't want to do that. But this is how you'll sort of see professional textures look like. And then I'm going to use my paint bucket tool and just do it twice to get it, because it wouldn't do it perfectly. And then now I can do the same thing. I want that part to be wood. Control C in case I don't already have it copied. Control V and right click and create clipping mask. And you'll see now this kind of looks a little weird. What I can do is sort of see what part looks cooler and what doesn't. I can also rotate it around. It's a little bit difficult to do because this thing is massive, the image. But, you know, you get the idea. However you want this thing to look. I think that's cool. I'm going to go with that one. All right, I like that. Enter, rename it, enter, extruded, or just redwood, that's fine. Redwood, enter, extrude, redwood, bottom edge. Okay, so you can start to see this thing take place. I want to show you as I do these. Export as, export, save, yes, Maya, object, here, reload. And now you're going to see that I've got that part textured, right? Looking pretty neat so far. And again, I don't care what textures you use, but I'm just showing you how I could go about doing it. And I'm going to show you the next part. I'm going to make this part the wood too. So which one is that? That is the one right directly above it. So that one will be wood. And I will go back into Photoshop. And it was this one. So now I'm basically just going to base my colors that I'm going to do these based off of what texture I'm using for it and what part of it it is. So this is just one way to do it. I don't know if you have a better way. I totally commend you to do it. I just feel like this, if I ever wanted to go back and change these textures, I can do it so quickly and easily without having to recolor, redraw the entire thing. I know it's a few more steps in the beginning, but to make adjustments, it's so much faster. So if I wanted to have two shields identical, or not two different shields with two different textures, I can use the same shield. Same thing that like Luigi and Mario are, right? At least in the earlier versions of the game. It's really just a color swap. It's the same art. They just made one red, one green. Mortal Kombat rings a bell. If you can do simple things like Sub-Zero and Scorpion, one's yellow and black, one's blue and black. When it's really the same exact sort of model or art with just a simple color swap. And that's basically kind of where I'm going with this. If you ever wanted to make another sort of shield, you could, and have the next one look a lot different. If you wanted two different shields, two different people carrying them without doing all that extra modeling again, because that can be a headache, right? We like to save steps where we can. And now I've got this one, and I'm going to go right back to my wood. Control C, Control V, right click, create clipping mask, and now I've got that one done. And I'm going to rotate that one, and because I want it to sort of have the grain look a little bit cooler or more proper, and chances are it's never going to look perfect, but I'm going to go with that. It's a little weird down here, but it looks good for the rest of it. I'd say it looks a little weird. I'm good with it. And then I'm going to rename my layers. This is going to be red outer edge, red wood outer edge. Okay. Again, file export. I already saved. I hit Control S. I don't know why I did Control Shift S. File export. Export as. I'm going to do it as a JPEG. Go ahead. Bada bing. Save. Yes. Go back to Maya and reload my texture. And now you'll see I've got that wooden section. And if I wanted this to rotate, and because it was looking a little weird, I could do that easily. I can do so much with it and make so many quick changes to it that can change the appearance of it so much that it's worth it in the end to do those little outlines, I feel. I think it's a great way. I don't even remember how I did it in the old videos. Maybe I did it the same way, maybe I didn't. But this is how I'll do it today. So now I'll do the next section. I started with the bolts. I just thought that was a easy way to start with me getting kind of into it. And I want to make this as easy as possible. Of course, you could always draw into it and stuff, but I really want you to get working with textures. It's going to give you a great look to your art and really make pieces stand out in your portfolio. Next thing is going to be this big section here. I don't want that one to be wood. I think I'm going to go with, if I can find Photoshop, here we go. That one I don't need to narrow down the UVs. This one is going to be a different color. So I'm going to press B on my keyboard. I'm going to create a new layer. We'll make this one blue. Blue shield front. I don't know. Blue shield outer front. I don't know what to call it. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to change my color over here to blue. And I just clicked on this little color box and then selected which one I wanted. And now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to go through. Now, here is where I'm going to need to be a little careful because I had that bleed through when I did the paint bucket tool and I had to click it twice. So I'm going to have to be a little bit careful on this one. On the inside, I'm going to stay a little bit closer to the wall. You'll see what I mean. So this comes down pretty good right there. That's why I like to give myself a little bit of extra space everywhere I can from one to the next. And then I'm going to do the same here. But like as I was saying, I'm going to want to pay a little bit more closer attention because I don't want any of that bleed through to come on this one. It's possible, but I'm going to do... I think I have plenty of space to not worry about it, but I just want you to be aware because I don't know what your UVs look like exactly. So I'm going to play it a little safe and stay close to this wall. Oh, can't do that. I have to start again from here. It's actually... If I want to get really particular with it, which I can do, I'll do this. And I'm actually going to, if I was working at home, I might skip over this part. I might not. I don't know. But this way we'll all be able to tell exactly which part of the shield this is if I have these hollowed out holes. So at the end of the day, I think it's a good idea. Not required though. And I'm going to come around and do this for each one. I tried it. I'm a big fan of the shift click. And I'm really trying to show you the easiest ways to go about doing this lab. I think the results you'll gain from this, the practice you'll get in Photoshop with just being able to move around will really, really help. And now you'll see I've got that completely done, and it's easy to recognize what it is, right? So now I gotta pick a different one. I'm really curious to see what this looks like, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Now that is way, 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 way too big. I need to bring this down. And depending on how I want it to look, holding shift, I'm just curious. I want to see what it'll look like. I don't know if it'll look silly or not, so I'm not even going to save it yet. I'm going to export this JPEG. And this is the beauty of it. I can jump back into Maya, take a quick look-see at this thing, reload my texture. It's going to take a second. Oh, because I have the center in there too. I don't know if I like it. I just don't know. I already have bolts on the outside. It kind of seems a little repetitious to have it there too. So I don't love it. I think it's neat looking, but I don't love it. Let's see what else I've got in here. I could even look up for a different texture, which I'll try it out. We'll try Polyhaven. And we'll go here. Oh, that's weird. So now you can see I'm going to go to Assets, Textures, and I can pick any one of these. It doesn't have to be like a metal or a wood. Just anything I think that's cool. What's under wall? And it could be literally anything I want it to be. Sandstone, brick. Brick might not be the greatest idea. You never know. But the designs and the patterns might be something if you wanted to change it at all. Let's see. Here's wood. This place has pretty good wood textures, I think. I already used wood on it, so I'm going to skip on wood. Fabric, just to have some kind of cool pattern. Leather. Rock, just to see if there's anything that's worthy. Maybe some cool marble or something, I don't know. Or we can just go to all and scrub through them and see what might look cool. Rubber tiles. So this is totally, you have full creative freedom to texture it however you like. I'm just taking one quick glance to see what is concrete, asphalt. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to see what they've got. And there's plenty of other free texture sites out there. I just found this one to be pretty cool. I don't know what that is. Cobblestone. On that sphere, though, it looked pretty cool. That might look too much like cobblestone, but at the same time, to me, it looks like it could be like dragon scales. I don't know. Only one way to find out would be to download it. And I could change the color of it so it doesn't look like rock. Let's give it a shot. Did it already download? There it is. Cut. Locate my folder. Paste. And extract all. Now in my textures, I'm going to select that cobblestone. Oh, in Photoshop, I need to open it. Excuse me. File, open that, the cool little cobblestone. And if I wanted to change the color of it, I can duplicate this thing. I can change it just by overlaying a full color, adjustments. What's auto color do? That's kind of cool. Auto color, image, auto color, image, auto contrast, image, auto tone. Let's see what that does. That turned out pretty cool, but it looks a lot more like rocks, right? I was hoping for more of like a dragon scaly kind of look to it. So let's do, I don't know if it's going to work, or some kind of like, you know, some kind of weird thing. I'm just having fun with this. So color balance, let's go with more of a green tone. I don't know. We'll try it. I'm just gonna try it. I was thinking like a dragon. I thought that's what it looked like at first. Now I'm gonna go back to my shield, and I'm gonna remove this one. I don't like that one. And I'm gonna do Control V, but I also need to scale this thing down like a lot. And if I wanted to keep it like really small, this is where I can take this UV map, let's percenter, drag it over so I can actually see where the UVs are. And in this case, I want to keep them tiny. I'm going to do edit, transform, flip vertical, and I'm going to go ahead and drag this down to give it a transparent, or not transparent, a seamless sort of edge. And it needs to come up one. It needs to come up 1 pixel. Nope. Control Shift Z is redo. Alright, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to shift select both of these layers and press Control E to merge them. And now I want to take a look at, and create clipping mask. And take a look at what that kind of looks like. So it's going to look weird, but I'm going to just roll with it just for fun. File, export as JPEG. Export, save, yes, and reload. And now I must not have did the clipping mask. Now it looks silly, but whatever, it is what it is. And I'm gonna keep pushing forward. I might change that by the end. It might drive me nuts, but let's go ahead and keep going with it. It does look a little ridiculous. But you get the idea. So I'm literally repeating myself, which is why I'm not too concerned about rushing through and finish this entire thing, because I've already showed you how to do the entire thing. The back side, I'll go ahead and do it a little bit more quickly, and then I'll save my little tedious moments for later. Let's change my color now to green. I want to make it more of a dark green. I don't like the bright green. I have a feeling all 1, 2, and 3 of these are going to be the same pieces, so I'm going to start there. And I'm going to leave my old video up covering the same exact topics. I don't know if you'll like this one better or the old one better. I think the old one is like 3 separate videos. It's been a little bit since I last pulled it up because I've created a lot of videos over the years. And we're almost done with this one. And I really hope you find this way of doing this texturing helpful and useful. If you have a better method, share it with me. And I'll probably say, oh yeah, I knew that. Why didn't I do it then? Right? Oh yeah. So, anyway. Now the key to this is to make sure you put them all on their own separate layer. So, now, boom, 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 that part's done. And I am going to change that weird looking rock. It was fun to toy around with, but, and I learned something from it. So, now I'm going to change this to green. What is that? Outer edge? I'm going to call it the outer edge. Green outer edge. I'm not sure. I'm going to create another one so I can run through this a little bit faster. Because I'm literally almost done with this. This is the tedious part. I'd love to be able to share this with you, but your UVs might not show up the same, so I can't. Or it won't match yours exactly, so that wouldn't work. But once you're done with this, that might cause an issue. So I might have to erase one or the other. Slight. I don't want to have accidentally one texture sort of bleeding through to the other one. Let's just redo that one. Oh, look at that. And it looks like I slightly... went offline real quick. And it didn't bleed through, so I'm good there. I'm going to guess this is green inner edge. And this will be green extrude. Control plus to zoom in. And this is how you create clean, professional looking UVs. All depends on how you want them to look. I'm really pleased with how the unwrap went. I think it turned out great. I could have gone another route. I could have, there's so many coulda, woulda, shouldas, but I'm not this pleased with how this turned out at all. Now, if we were working with something like Substance Painter, I don't know if Quixel Suite's still around. That used to be a Photoshop plugin. I don't think it is actually. Now that I think about it, I used to really enjoy Quixel Suite. It was a I don't know if it was technically a plugin, a kind of plugin, but you downloaded the software, but it worked with Photoshop, and it was like a professional standard texturing service, but Photoshop bought the rights to Substance Painter, which is an absolutely incredible texturing software. I wish I knew it a little better than I do, but you can download it through Adobe. It's not going to be pricing won't be based off of the educational. If it is in one of them, I know it didn't used to be, but maybe they've made changes. I don't know if they have an educational discount on it, but it has its own monthly plan. This will be green extrude, and I can really start to group these. Inner extrude or edge, whatever. I'll know what I mean by that, and this will be red. We'll change this for sure. I don't like that, and I can do that very easily. This is gonna need another texture, so this outer one, I guess it could also be wood, and then I can make the back wood, and then I'll make the inner part here, and oh, I forgot about this one. I'll make these two different types of textures. So on the green, I'll make it wood as well. Let's just go with that. Control C. Control V, right click, create clipping mask. And this one will be green wood extrude. Create clipping mask, green wood inner edge. I don't know what made me think about doing it this way. Maybe it's a way I've always done it. It's just, I don't know. Definitely useful though. Oh, Control V, green wood outer edge, right click, create clipping mask, and now I've got the back end to do, but I'm going to save this now. I'm going to do a file export. I just want to see my progress real quick. And I'm not going to stop this video until I have it all done. So now the outside is wood. I'm going to make the back edge wood. I didn't even rotate any of these. I probably should have, but I didn't. So you can see what it's starting to look like. Very nice, neat, clean. And then I got to change this blue part, and then I got to get the inside and that side. So back to Photoshop. I'm almost done here. I'll go ahead and throw all of these. Green outer extrude. I don't know. Whatever. Blue. I can come back to blue. Let's see what else I got in here. I think this is what I have it on in the original one. I really would like to pick something different and do something different this time. This is definitely not going to work. No, I don't want to save it. Let's see if they have anything else in here that could work for me. Asphalt track, dirt, painted plaster wall. Red plaster weathered. Cracked concrete wall. Concrete layer. Red sandstone wall. I could try this. I don't know. Just to give it some type of look to it. Cut. Paste. Extract all. Photoshop. File. Open. And this time we're going to go to... That's the diffuse. Just click OK. All right. Control A, Control C, Control V, and we're gonna go create clipping mask. Now, if I bring that into, I can make that look like a metal. I could do all types of things to it. I kind of like it. I think that's way better than my sandstone, that's for sure. What I'll do is I'll duplicate this layer so I always have the original. I'm going to do image, adjustments, brightness, contrast. Oh, let's try this auto color. Ooh, it's starting to look like metal, honestly. I think so. Auto contrast, image, auto tone. And then I'll go to let's bring the brightness down a little bit more. Up that contrast, give it some kind of weird, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of seeing what it looks like, and that's kind of what I want you to do, is just sort of have fun with this. And I'm going to delete this one. Something like that. I'm gonna just say it's metal, and then when I could adjust the shininess on it. I could adjust everything on it if I wanted to, and we'll save it. File, export as JPEG, export, save, yes, go back into Maya. And reload. Whoops, reload. I've got that weird sort of, it's plaster, but I'm going to try to make it look like metal, add some scratches on it or something. And then the centerpiece needs to be done as well, which I don't think I did the outline on. Blue, I'm going to call it plaster. Exterior, whatever. I'll group these so I know. Blue, exterior. Oh, blue, plaster, exterior, whatever. And then I've got 2 more outlines to do. How far along am I in this? Okay, I'm just pushing over an hour. So I would like to wrap this up. We'll make this one. I did red, blue, green. Let's do yellow. I'll do this inner piece yellow, actually, because it's going to be really easy to see if it bleeds through in any way. I'm going to try to hug that edge so I don't get any bleed through when I do that paint bucket tool twice, because it kind of pushes it out a couple pixels. Holding shift, I'm just clicking. I gotta remember to hug that wall a little bit tighter. Just clicking around. Oh, G. And that worked. Perfect. I did give myself enough space in there. Now, emblem, yellow emblem. Shield. And here's where I'm going to combine a couple of different things. Let's do the red weather plaster here. I'm going to just try it. Make it all look a little bit different. Oh, silly me. Control O for open. Create clipping mask. And now I've got that red plaster thing, and let's go ahead and scale it down. I think it looks kind of cool, actually. Save it, and then I'll only have one section left, and I can also do my little coat of arms here. I think I've got a different one I can pick too. That looks kind of neat. And the last thing I gotta do is that one. Yellow plaster emblem shield, whatever. Group that. Coat of arms section. And then the last one, I did yellow for the other one. We'll do purple or pink for the last section. So now, start at the bottom and work our way right around this thing. One last one to do. Hopefully I can just doot. See, that's what I was. That's why you kind of gotta jump around from edge to edge, because they curve around a little bit. And if I remember right, I don't love the naming convention, by the way, that I came up with. I think it's terrible, but it is a naming convention. And there we go. And this is going to be the wood. Turn that on. Control T. Zoom out. I'm gonna rotate it around, I think, like so. Scale it down probably too. See, I don't love this texture because there's so much repetition in it. And it's almost like better to have it be large. Or that I can kind of buy into. Enter, turn that off, create my clipping mask. Pink? I don't know, pink or purple. Back. Pink. Wood. Back. Group that. Back of shield. Alright, and then save out my Photoshop file. I got a lot of wood on there. But file export. I wanted to do something different this time. Export as, save, okay, yes. Go back to Maya. Now the last two sections I have is just the back and the front emblem. Reload. And there's my handy dandy shield. Looking pretty neat. So anyway, I just wanted to do something a little bit different from my previous older model. I hope you enjoyed this. I also need to do the diffuse and specular. Now, for the submission, I just want you to have it applied. The last thing, this is the very last thing. I told you I'm almost done. I said that 20 minutes ago. Here, what is it? Texture. What is it called? Texture to normal map converter. There it is. First one. And then click Lab 11, shield diffuse, open. You'll see here, I'm going to reverse the height. I think I need to zoom in, or maybe not. I think that's good, and then I'm going to download that normal map. I'm not going to play around with it too much, and just apply it. Shield, normal map, go back to Maya, geometry, bump mapping, file, use as tangent space normals, click the arrow, click the folder, locate your shield normal map. That's really strong. I should have probably lightened it up a little bit, but and then the last thing, and if I add a sky dome light, whoa, that is crazy bright. I don't know if I like that light. Now let's add a, I think it was that shiny because I haven't added my specular map yet. So if I go back to Google and switch this to specular, this one I'll play around with a little bit. I don't want the wood to be as shiny. Overall, I don't want, that'll work. I'm gonna just go with that. Download. I don't want to play around with it too much. Cut and paste and rename and apply that one also. Under specular color, hit the checker box. You guys should all know this one by now. Locate your texture map. And now let's see what it does. Oh, I didn't mean to do Arnold. Lights, sky dome light. And now you'll see the huge major difference it did by adding that specular map, where you noticed before it was really, really, really shiny. And then you can play around with a bunch of different things. I could adjust the intensity of this light if I wanted to. I was fine with it at just 1. And then I can even rotate it. Not going to make much of a difference here. Not without rendering it. And then the last thing I'm going to go over is just to take a quick look-see. Since I'm talking about so many maps, I'm going to try, I haven't tried it yet on here. I want to see what their ambient occlusion comes out like. And it doesn't really do a whole much other than same difference as your specular, so it doesn't really do a whole lot. You see what I mean? Well, this one I've already kind of played around with, but anyway, what an ambient occlusion is, I'm going to show you one last thing. What most people will do with this, if you have an ambient occlusion map in Photoshop, what a lot of people will do with it. Now, mind you, I don't think this is a great example, but it might work. Control A, Control C. We'll go over here. Nope. Yep. And I should be able to paste this right over, which I could. And what most people do is run a screen, might not work, an overlay, and it theoretically, usually they'll actually look a lot different. That converter isn't very good at it, but it adds a little bit more shadow to your diffuse map. So if I wanted to file export this out as a, and I set it to overlay, let's just take, before I export it out, I have it on overlay, soft light. I'll go with overlay. Most people do overlay, by the way, on that. And then file, export as JPEG, export, save, yes. Go back to Maya. And I'm going to reload this one. And you'll start to see that I guess it works. It's not great, but it works a little bit better, and you should get a little extra shadows in there, and you'll see. Anyway, there's my little wooden bolted down wooden metal shield. I hope you enjoyed the lab. I think it's a fun, I think it's a tedious little lab, but it's a lot of fun and really rewarding at the end when you finally get there. Other than that, I'm just looking for a submission of your, submit your Maya file with the normal map, diffuse map, specular map, and I want to, as long as you submit that, you should be fine. It never hurts to submit a screenshot as well. You can submit a screenshot like this. I'm always under the impression it's better to have it than what you did. So what is that? Oh, okay. I guess I didn't notice it. Photoshop. Yep. So anyway, that's my texturing lab. That's a shield that we modeled together from start to finish. I hope you enjoyed the lab. Probably grew a little bit more appreciation for people who do 3D modeling, and the movies you watch and the video games you play, or TV shows, anything in media related, using 3D models. But I hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything I can answer for questions, this one's not too hard. It's really just a lot of little clicking around and getting it to look right. But if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be more than happy to answer all your questions, concerns, anything. Message me on Canvas inbox. Yeah, make sure you upload your all your texture files. So make them all JPEGs or whatever. And then the Photoshop file will probably be pretty large, take a while to upload, where JPEGs will be a smaller file size. So you're probably better off with the JPEG on the normal specular and diffuse, as well as your Maya file. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the lab. Have a wonderful day. I know I try to hang up on these, I guess so you'd say, and I just keep going, but I don't think I have anything else to include in this. Ambient occlusion map. Of course. Control S, save it. Don't forget to save your shield file. Control S. And you should be all set. Looking at it from all angles. If you remember, I haven't even touched this because I've been in the UV and Pers editor for a while now. But if you look, we still have the original image plane in here. I actually have been in this viewport with the Pers UV editor for so long that I actually kind of forgot it was in there. So that's kind of funny. I'm gonna select it, and so I don't forget again, create a layer from selected, and this is going to be my shield image plane reference. Okay. Shoot me any questions if you have any, and other than that, have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.